Good evening, everyone. We'll call to order the Public Safety Commission meeting for February 5th, 2024. Uniquely, we are online tonight. I appreciate everybody joining us due to the storms in the area. We all agreed this is a safer method to get everybody together and ensure that our public safety partners will be able to join us. So that said, we'll do a roll call of our commissioners. If you can just confirm your attendance as I go through the group. Sharon,
Here.
Joe,
Here.
Jeff,
Present.
Norma,
Present.
Brian,
Here.
and Ryan.
Here.
Excellent. If we have any late ads, we will include them also. We're also joined by our Calabasas partners, Mike and Debbie. Thanks for being on. Oh, looks like as I speak, well-timed Jay. Thanks for hopping on. All right. We will move on to our Pledge of Allegiance. Ryan and Jay, would you like to lead us tonight in the Pledge of Allegiance? There we go. Whenever you're ready.
All right.
I pledge of allegiance
To
to
the
the
flag
flag of
of
the
the
United
United
States
States of
States of
America, and to the
and to the
republic
republic
which it stands,
for which
Which
it
is
stands,
one nation under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all. Thank you, guys. All right, we will move on to approving our agenda for the night. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to take a look. Can we have a motion to approve our agenda for the evening? Sharon? And do we have a second on that? Joe? Thank you both. And all in favor of approving our evening's agenda, please say aye.
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 Debbie looks unanimous to me. Then we will move forward with approving our agenda. And going forward, our minutes from October 23rd, 2023, our last meeting. I had noted one small revision, just a typo that I believe was sent out to the group. Beyond that, were there any changes to note for the minutes from our last meeting? Otherwise, we'll ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
Sure.
Motion to approve.
Joe, and we'll take Norma as a second on that one. All in favor, as long as no changes are needed, please say aye.
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 Aye. Looks like we have a unanimous motion to move forward with approving their minutes from the last session. So thanks to Debbie for getting those to us. All right. We'll go through the group. For those that haven't done a Zoom meeting with us before, I'll just call you out as we go here to keep things in order. If you do have a question or an issue as we're going forward, feel free to just raise your hand digitally and we will call on you. I would ask that you keep yourself on mute just to avoid any background noise as others are speaking. So that said, we'll go through for any announcements or introductions from the group. Sharon, you want to start us off?
On just a reminder to everybody, we are having our crime symposium on Monday night in Founders Hall from 6 to 7:30. Would love to see all your faces there. It's not considered a formal meeting for us, but it would be great to have your support in the audience. Both Matt and I will be leading it, and it's a pretty heavy agenda, but we're going to try and keep it as tight as we can. But we'd love to see you. Apologize for my voice. I've been in the air for about 12 hours, so it's a little foggy. That's all I have.
Perfect. Thank you. And we'll talk a little bit more about the symposium a little later in the agenda too. Joe, any announcements?
Nothing, thanks.
Jeff, welcome. Any announcements for you?
Nothing to report.
Norma, anything on your side?
And nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you. Brian?
Nothing for me this evening.
Ryan, any announcements for you?
No.
Okay. And Jay, anything to add from your side?
Nothing from here.
All right. I'll just throw a quick thank you to those on the call and to the all of our first responders and city workers for the past 36 hours. I know I'm sure it's been busy out there. We greatly appreciate it as we all sit here dry behind the camera. We know many are out there trying to keep the city functioning and safe. So thanks to everybody for that. All right, we'll move along. Debbie, any cards? Anybody that submitted anything for public comment?
No, I don't see any. Let me see. Hold on. Attendees, Mark Citron and Scott. And Scott, do you have anything for public comment? Okay, I don't think we have anything for public comment.
Okay, very good. All right, we'll move along to our agency reports. Looks like we've got the gang all here, so that's great. Deputy DiMatteo, do you want to start us off with the sheriff's report?
Good evening. How's everyone doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Great, how are you?
You can hear me okay, yes?
Yes.
All
Yep.
right, so I've got the crime reports for October, November, and December of 2023. And let's get started from the top. So yeah, in those 3 months, we had 3 robberies. 2 of them were armed and 1 of them was a strong arm. I'm just going to go over those real quick because those are pretty significant incidents to the community, and you guys should be aware of them. 1 incident occurred at a grocery store on Agora Road. Suspect stole a bottle of alcohol and then threatened an employee with force if he intervened. Another incident occurred in the parking lot of a retail establishment on Calabasas Road. 3 masked suspects held the victim at gunpoint, pistol whipped him in the face, and then stole his watch. Last robbery was an incident occurred that at a grocery store on Mulholland Highway. Suspect attempted to steal alcohol when security intervened. The suspect punched the security guard in the face and then fled the location empty-handed. We did have 5 assaults, and then this is a number everyone should look at. There were 22 residential burglaries in those 3 months, an average of 7 a month. And let me break that down for you. We had 14 burglaries by force. So by forcing their way into the house, either prying a window or shattering the window. 4 more were unlocked houses, and then another 4 were attempts only. So they were not successful. We did have 15 commercial burglaries. 14 of those were at night by force. 1 of them was an attempt in the early morning hours. We did have 15 vehicle burglaries. A majority of these burglaries occurred because valuables were left in plain view. And there were 19 grand thefts, mostly comprised of retail theft, mail theft and package theft. We had an additional 17 petty thefts, 15 thefts from unlocked vehicles. There were 5 stolen cars, and there was 1 arson. That incident happened when a transient started a fire outside of a retail establishment on Agora Road. The building sustained minor damage. The transient was arrested for arson and identity theft. Following up, we did have 1 domestic violence felony, and that brings the end of my crime report. So this is the end of the year. This crime report ends in December, so there were 353 Part 1 crimes in 2023 compared to 396 Part 1 crimes in 2022, showing a reduction of approximately 10.9%. Didn't feel like it, but those are the numbers. That's it for the crime report. Any comments, questions, concerns?
Jeff, why don't you start us off? You were first up.
DiMatteo, where was where did the pistol whipping, if we can, I'm not sure we can disclose that location of the store?
So it's in the
Commons,
Yeah,
Commons,
parking lot.
Commons.
I don't tend to
Okay.
say
Curious.
specific business names because
Sure.
they
No
don't
problem.
like that, and I try and respect that. So, but yeah, it was in the Commons parking lot. These were residents from Glendale meeting family members out at the Commons for dinner. They parked their car, and as they were walking to the restaurant, they got confronted by masked gunmen.
Thank you.
Let's see. Joe, did you have a comment?
Yes, I have 2. I wanted to know on the 3 um, assaults that involve force, have there been arrests made? That's one question. I have another question for you as well.
So in that incident, I do not believe there were any arrests made. The suspects their faces were covered with masks and hoods, and their vehicles did not have license plate.
And that's the same for the other 2 incidents as well?
The other 2 incidents, I can't specifically confirm if there was an arrest made. I believe in one of the retail thefts involving alcohol, there was. So the one in the Albertsons parking lot, there was an arrest made. However, the other one at the Gelson's parking lot, there was not.
Okay. I noticed that there was a mention of 4 individuals and a theft from Sephora of $2,500 worth of merchandise. And of course, that's over the $950 limit. So I was interested in whether those suspects were apprehended and charged. And then I have one other comment based off of that.
Yeah, so the retail theft detective at our station, Detective Lopez, she's a very busy detective. So I don't know if an arrest was made in the Sephora cases. We usually have a lot of those, so I don't know. Whenever there is an arrest made, I'm not typically going to get that information unless I go out and specifically ask for that or it's public knowledge. So getting information about arrests is tough. I wish there was a better way to know about it. However, we don't have a crime analyst at our station right now, but we are in the process of getting one.
Right. Because that's the kind of thing local residents would be very interested in hearing as well. And there's been a couple of posts on social media. One involved an incident at a supermarket, and one again, that particular store, Sephora. In both cases, it appeared that the people that observed it happening said something to the sales associates and to the security people and we're either told that, well, company policy is we're not supposed to intervene. But I'm just wondering, do those things get reported to the sheriff's station on top of it? Because I'm not quite sure what we're supposed to be telling people they should do in those situations. In both those cases, it seemed to me that the residents acted appropriately in letting the sales associate and the security people know. But there's that aspect that you mentioned of you never know whether one of them's armed or exactly what they're going to do one way or the other. So it leaves our residents in a situation where they're not safe in certain retail establishments that they often go to. And of course, when people are told, well, you know, we don't do anything unless it's over 950. The law-abiding people, are left wondering, well, you mean I could just walk in here, grab $400 worth of stuff, walk out, and you wouldn't do anything? And apparently, Governor Newsom had a similar incident occur at a Target store up by Sacramento. And that's exactly the point he made to them. So if the governor is saying those kinds of things, I'm pretty sure everybody else is as well. So I don't know what you can say or what you can advise people to do. Are they supposed to go and report it to the police themselves if they don't get any action from the store?
Well, I know the city of Calabasas is putting an emphasis on encouraging retail establishments to report all crime, right? So our crime stats can accurately reflect the type of behavior that's going on in the city. So, but most retail establishments have a hands-off policy, right? They don't want their employees to intervene. They don't want them to get hurt, killed over some retail products. So, but some of the retail establishments in Calabasas have a policy that after they're stolen from, they have to call loss prevention first before they call law enforcement. So they have to call loss prevention and then get approval to call us. So most of the time a theft occurs, we're not notified until 10, 15, 20 minutes later. It's a difficult task because even if we do catch somebody for retail theft or petty theft, they're not going to go to jail. They're going to get a ticket and they're going to get released for the most part. Unless it's like an organized retail theft crew, then it is handled differently. But in LA County, a misdemeanor, anything under $950, you're just going to get a ticket.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the feedback on that. So it would sound like maybe residents should take the further step and report it to the police themselves to make sure that it is getting reported.
Well, yeah, residents can report a crime happening in a retail establishment, but unless the store manager or an employee is willing to cooperate with us, there's nothing we can do. So yeah, it's definitely, it's up to that establishment to want to provide us with the information that a crime occurred, and they have to be willing to cooperate and prosecute in the event we have a successful investigation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Brian, you had a comment?
Yeah, question. Looking at the stats, burglary from locked vehicles
Yes.
and grand theft vehicles put together is down 42% year over year. That's good. Is there anything we should be telling our residents? Hey, congratulations, keep it up, drive it even lower. I mean, is there anything in particular that you sense?
So in regards to thefts from vehicles, so I mean, there were, let's see, 15 thefts from unlocked vehicles. I mean, that's a preventable crime, right? It's an unlocked car. I can't really say this enough. When you leave your vehicle, lock it, Don't keep any valuables in plain view, literally anything. If you leave a dollar bill in your center console, someone's going to break in and steal that dollar bill, or AirPods, or a phone charger, or whatever the deal. Don't let criminals, don't give them an opportunity to break into your vehicle. So don't leave anything in plain view. Lock your car. If you're out shopping or anything like that, put something in a locked trunk if you can. And also there are always different like fads. So like Kias and Hyundais, all right? We just released on our social media saying, hey, these vehicles right now are being targeted for vehicle theft because there's something that somebody learned on TikTok on how to steal these cars, and they spread the word, and these criminals are going nuts. So our station was giving out clubs to owners of those vehicles. Somebody on this panel got one today. I delivered it personally. Just be aware of the current crime trends pertaining to your vehicle type and year, and that can help you in the long run, especially if one of your vehicles is one of those that's targeted. So yeah, just takes those simple steps. It'll go a long way. Is every crime preventable? No, but stuff like that pertaining to your vehicle, most likely, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Norma.
Thank you. I'm going to circle back for a moment on the open space burglaries where people have access through open space. And we know we already have a problem at the golf course, but it was brought to my attention yesterday, again on social media. Our next door neighbor, the Calabasas Park Estates, they have access, the criminals have access through Mulholland. And it seems that when I read it, she didn't say what street it was, but there was one street that's been hard hit. And I was wondering, not that you could use them now, but the mountain bike situation, those might be helpful in the open space.
Yeah, so yeah, it's funny. I was discussing this today with my detective, sergeant, and lieutenant, and just so you know, both of them, the lieutenant and the sergeant, are in the field right now, looking for burglars. I have flexed my schedule to work at night, mostly at night, to add an extra patrol car out there to hopefully deter these crimes from happening. Burglaries aren't necessarily increasing, but they're a steady flow of them. And it's really hard to catch these crews because they're so sophisticated. So yes, the mountain bike thing is going to happen. It's going to happen soon. We just have to get the money for training to hold a class. It's going to happen. The real-time crime and disaster center, it's already built. It's just waiting for whatever final steps our brass has to go through to get it going. It's ready to go. I'm sure our captain will cover that at the safety symposium on the 12th. So yes, mountain bikes, the real-time crime and disaster center, that's going to be up soon. And flock cameras. Just unfortunately, I can't search past the last month, like the last 30 days, but the last 30 days, it's caught 365,000 license plates. It's catching a lot of vehicles in public spaces. So that also assists our investigation. If we get any crimes where those individuals drive past a flock camera, which are essentially at every access point in the city now. We have a system that we implemented to where we can detect drones in the air now. I don't know if it's going to be permanent. I know it's only specified for one community right now in the city, but that is because we don't know if drones are being used to scout for burglary locations. So what we're doing is we're trying to detect where these drones are going to come, where they're coming from, because we don't know if they're residents playing around or if these are criminals scouting for their next crime. So we've got some technology in place and additional personnel in the field to help slow these burglaries down. And just so you know, it's not just Calabasas that are getting hit with residential burglaries. It's everywhere in LA County and Ventura County, Santa Barbara County. It's every county from Santa Barbara to San Diego. So it's tough. It's a tough task. I know that we're getting our major crimes unit involved to help us out with this problem. But it's pretty tough. I would love to tell you how we're going to go about catching them, but I don't want to make that public information. Maybe I can share that with you behind the scenes. But yeah, it's a tough process, but know that we're working diligently to slow it down.
All right. Looks like we got a couple of more follow-ups, and then we'll move along. Jeff, you have a follow-up?
I do. So, DiMatteo, on the bike team stuff, do you guys have it like teams established? Reason why I'm asking is I'm on the bike team with LA County Fire, and we have a training course and people that are certified to certify people on mountain bike, riding for emergencies. Have you guys looked into cross training with the county fire to get you guys up to speed faster to implement that program quicker? Just curious. That's my first question.
Yeah. Let me answer that real quick. So I can guarantee you there's policy behind it that prevents us from doing that.
Sure.
So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I do know that we have the bikes. They're here. I've ridden them. I've tested them. They're amazing. And we just have to get someone
You have to have
who's
a class. There's a
certified.
certain class. I mean, I know we have it. I mean, Matrix Smith might be able to co-coordinate with you on that to kind of steer you in the right direction of what's needed. I'm not sure if the sheriffs would have to pay the overtime to our guys to train your guys type thing, or maybe get your guys certified in that course you have to take, but I know we have it. So I'm
Our
just throwing
sergeant is all over it.
throwing
So
that out there to you.
it happens soon.
Okay. And that's my first one. Second question is, I live in the Creekside community, so I'm the HOA president for Creekside, and we just put up a whole bunch of new HD cameras and license plate readers and facial recognition cameras. And literally the first night we had them in service at 5 p.m. on December 8th, I think it was. Literally that night at 2 a.m, we had some characters go through the south side gate that we were doing a big construction project here and some water repiping. And they hit every mailbox in the community, and they also ransacked the car right inside the gate, right in front of the camera. So I shared all that with one of the detectives there. Obviously, it was petty theft, which the car door was unlocked again. They just invited him in their car, and the homeowner had his remote control changed, and then failed to change the remote control. And they came back 3 days later. And the funny thing was, I was on the phone with one of your detectives. And I gave him the license number because our camera picked it up, and he ran it through Flock, and Flock got a hit the night before. This is 3 days later that they were back. And he goes, I bet they possibly broke into the guy's house. And sure enough, I went to the time frame he said. They went down to Park Paloma. They stopped there in the middle of the intersection, and they were casing the house for about 15 minutes. They were in a white car, in a white Infiniti. And they parked in the corner, and they walked in, and the guy wasn't home, and they used his remote control in his house and robbed it. Stole everything. Stole his computer, his watches, all his stuff. So, Brian, to answer your question, change your locks, change your codes, lock your cars. That's what we need to tell the public is do your due diligence in that 9 o'clock routine around your home, to lock your car doors, your home, your windows, and just have a steady routine of what you're doing to protect your belongings. I just want to throw that out there, everybody. But to tie in my segue into that is the comment I called you after that. I talked to you, or actually text you, in regards to Captain C2 and sharing cameras. So I got a full shot from Valmar all the way down to Park Sorrento, almost up to Park Sienna, on the cameras that kind of covers the whole Park Aura Street. And is it, I know we talked briefly about this. Is it a budget issue? Like, would that be something I know if HOs were discussing sharing cameras with the sheriffs so they could pull it up? I have no problem sharing that with you guys. Is it a budget issue to be able to, I mean, obviously you're not going to watch it all the time, but be able to have that access to see and have that I'm not sure if there's a way to coordinate that with you guys, maybe with the city, with all the HOAs that are here that have these cameras. You know, it might be a nice thing for you guys to do. I know you were discussing it initially. I'm not sure how far that got, but I'm just throwing it out there that we're willing to share that. And I think it'd be a great resource for you guys. I'm not sure how that happens, or it's a funding thing where you need monitors to do all this in a certain room, which could be monumental amount of cameras. Like I said, I'm going to have 12. So, you know, it's a lot. And but at least have the access to look in there. If you had a traffic accident, you guys could pop in and look at it. So something to think about.
Yeah, that's the plan. And I know you'll get the opportunity to ask the captain that on the 12th if you show up.
Thank you, Jeff. Brian, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, real quick. I know in my community got hit a couple of times recently, and I heard some chatter from a couple of people about that they had seen drones flying in the area, and somebody said, "Well, if I see one, I'm going to shoot it down." Now, isn't there a law against that?
So I'm not the FAA laws and rules and regulations. I'm not versed on those. I know it's not smart to shoot anything down. Don't do that. It definitely, you could get charged with a crime. I'm pretty sure from a penal code aspect. But yeah, don't shoot anything down. Just if you see a drone, report it, and just know that in a community in Calabasas, we have set up drone detection system to find out exactly where it's coming from. It's kind of like a pilot program. And obviously it got set up and then it started to rain, and I don't think anyone flies drones in the rain. So I'm waiting to see how this system works once it clears up. But yeah, don't shoot anything down. That's ridiculous. Just call the sheriff's station, have a deputy going out there, and then we'll try and locate the source of the drone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just add that, we do have, as a reminder to this group, for those that haven't been on the commission, we do have an ordinance in place for the city of Calabasas that allows the sheriff's department to cite over violations of our city ordinance for flying drones in public. So there are, although it is just a citation, there are some avenues to, beyond the federal FAA rules, which are challenging to enforce at best. So that is something for drone pilots out there too.
Yeah, Calabasas is a drone-free city. You cannot fly a drone unless you have a specific exemption, if you're law enforcement or if you're city staff. And you can get a pretty hefty fine. So yeah, don't fly drones in Calabasas unless you get specific permission.
Joe, you had a follow-up?
I do. You mentioned that it's not a problem specific to Calabasas. And then I think about the fact that, Hidden Hills is sitting in a similar situation. They're backed right onto open space. Are they doing something different than what we're doing in Calabasas? Or are you aware of any other efforts being made by other locations that we would like to see also in place in Calabasas?
So Hidden Hills, if you look at Hidden Hills, it's basically just a really large HOA in Calabasas. That's basically what it is. However, they've taken some significant steps to curtail their residential burglary problem. They used to deal with residential burglaries all the time, and it has essentially stopped. Pretty much zero. I think the last time they got a residential burglary was not last Christmas, but the one before that. So about 2 years ago. It's very, very rare. They do have a very good camera system surrounding the entirety of the community that alerts security on site of any motion on those cameras. So it's easy for them because they get the detection. they're alerted while on site, and then they can radio to guards that are in the field. Hey, there's motion on this camera 6 or whatever the deal, right? And then they have a roving guard go over there and check it out. Anytime that happens, and I've seen this in the past, burglary crews have gotten into the community. They've seen the security guard roll by, and then they've hunkered down. They've hunkered down, they've hunkered down long. However, that presence of security doesn't leave, and then those burglars go back where they came from. And they haven't tried in a long time. So yes, cameras and on-site security, and the technology of those cameras to alert of specific motion, right? It detects human beings, not animals and stuff. So yeah, they're doing a great job and haven't experienced a burglary in over a year.
Thank you.
Mike.
One quick point is City of Calabasas is using the same security company that Hidden Hills is. I'm not going to do a commercial, but we've been working with them. We tell people if they see drones, call Lost Hills Sheriff. Also, the security company that we employ does put up drones to try to catch the bad guys as well. We tell them to contact Lost Hills Sheriff and let them know when they're flying their drones. And as Deputy DiMatteo said, the drone technology that we have in place will hopefully yield some results. But it's we're in this for the long haul. So as we go forward, we're just going to keep hopefully talking about it, circle our wagons, more cameras. The cameras that Deputy DiMatteo mentioned, we have some cameras on trails as well. And we were alerted about some hikers the other day that had some bad intentions. So we got to just keep adding to what we were already doing. And I think we're going to slow them down.
Yeah, it's just to piggyback off that, just on Saturday night, a security company alerted us to motion on one of their cameras in the mountain park community. There was a window break. However, I don't believe anything was stolen because of the response. So it is extremely beneficial to have technology like that available to our disposal. So I 100% support it, and hopefully we slow it down.
Sure.
I've been listening to a lot of the conversation, and those of you who know me well know that I've been very involved in the security, including Deputy Matteo. And a lot of these things are, as Mike said, are starting to be in place. We have 16 cameras around the lake, and it showed already that how quickly the incidents on the lake have gone down. They've been very efficient for us. So cameras are a big thing. We've talked about a lot of different things. I've met with the company that the city is using, as well as Norma did. The two of us did. And we walked the golf course with them because that's part of the open space. So there's a lot that we have our eye on, and there's going to be a lot on Monday night that will be discussed, and you will learn so much more. There's been so much activity behind the scenes, and everybody is doing their part. And you'll hear me say this Monday night, but it takes a village to make this work for all of us. And we have to do that. And so Monday night will be great. I mean, a lot of these questions and the topics that have been brought up tonight, Matt, and it will come out on Monday night. And if it doesn't, please, the questions should be asked. But there's so much happening. And in Hidden Hills, yes, they have it, and they've done very, very well. There's a lot of money over there. And that one of our biggest issues is making sure that we have the money to put what we need in place. And some of the homeowners associations have got to be part of that as well. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Sharon. I would just add, first off, although it's very easy to always want less crime and more policing and all of those things, we still have a very low crime rate in this city. And much of that is due to Lost Hills and due to the HOAs doing their parts. 10% reduction is still a reduction, and I think we definitely need to continue to recognize that. We can always do better, and that's part of what we'll talk about on Monday, and part of what we try to do with this group too. But we're going in the right direction. So the only other just note I would add, because it did come up in conversation, is just for those involved with your HOAs. I think Jeff, you brought it up with remotes, gate remotes specifically. We've got a lot of gates in this city, hundreds. I would offer to guess. Work with your HOAs on who controls those remotes. It's such a simple process, but it's one that's overlooked quite often about the maintenance of those databases. People sell cars, people lose remotes, they give codes out to vendors, maintenance people, things like that. It's really, really important to keep those systems clean, to turn remotes off, discontinue codes, all of those kind of things, just to stop people from getting past those gates. Super important, and your HOA should be able to work with you on that. So, Jeff, you had something on
Yeah,
that?
just real quick. We basically told our homeowners, if you have a portable remote, bring it to the house every night. So they break the window, they get your remote, they get right to your garage. If you have programmed your car with the remote and brought that inside, and then also we're looking at getting the RFID system where it eliminates the remote altogether, where you can take people on and off automatically. But of course, that's just takes money.
Very
Like
true.
anything else.
All right. A good round of questions, everyone. Any other last follow-ups before we move along? I think we covered it well. So thank you, Deputy DiMatteo. We look forward to seeing your team next week. Stay safe out there.
All right, I'll see you next week. Thank you, guys.
All righty.
Thank you.
So we will move along to Highway Patrol. Mike, you're stepping in for Highway Patrol this week.
Yes, so on behalf of the Highway Patrol, I'll just go through the last 3 months of 2023. I don't think I'll be able to answer any questions about it, but for what it's worth. October 2023 on the US 101 northbound and southbound, there were a total of 18 reported traffic collisions. 8 of the traffic collisions had injuries. 2 of the collisions were hit and runs, and 0 were due to DUI. This is a decrease from October of 2022, which had 25 collisions. In November of 2023, US 101 northbound and southbound, there were a total of 10 reported traffic collisions. 7 of the collisions had injuries, 1 collision was a hit and run, and 0 were due to DUI. There was 1 fatal collision on the southbound side, and in November of 2022, there were 16 collisions. So we have a decrease both months. In December of 2023 on the US 101, there were a total of 25 traffic collisions. 13 of the collisions had injuries, 4 of the collisions were hit and runs, 1 was due to a DUI. There was 1 fatal collision on the northbound side, and in the previous year, in December of 2022, there were 11 traffic collisions. So that's an increase. So it goes down 2 months and then it goes up. The one good thing out of this too is I didn't see many DUIs, only 1 DUI in 3 months. So that's pretty good. They also go on to say that injury collisions is minor, moderate, or major based on the extent of injury. Then it goes on for everybody to, if you see any unsafe driving behaviors in the Calabasas area, especially on the freeways, call CHP, call 911 or call CHP dispatch at 323-259-3200. And that concludes the CHP report for the last quarter of 2023.
Thank you, Mike. Any comments before we move on from CHP? And no doubt those numbers will be going up after all the rain we're getting, but we'll see that in the next report.
Right.
All right. So let's move along to our partners in fire. Chief Smith, Megan, thank you for joining us. It's all yours.
All right. Well, good evening. Yes, you have myself and Megan. As you could imagine, for the last 36 hours, been extremely busy, but we're holding our own right now. So appreciate all the support from the cities, and also want to acknowledge our partnership with those cities and the county family, Public Works and Lost Hills Sheriffs, and of course CHP. Just a tremendous amount of effort that's gone in the last 36 hours on preparation. And then when we have been having the emergencies throughout the areas. So I have October, November, and December. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. We had a total of 571 calls for that 3-month period, which averages 6 to 7 a day. Out of those 3 months, we did have a total of 16 fires, and 2 of those which were structure fires that we'll get to here shortly. We had on medical runs, we had a total of 391 medical runs. 84 of those required advanced life support, 183 basic life support, and we transported 267 patients. We had 0 hazmat calls. We had a total of 6 hazardous condition calls, and we had 42 service calls and 116 good intent calls. I'd always like to call attention to the good intent calls. And the reason that is because the public is calling because they know that potentially there is an emergency or something needs to be evaluated. So I'm a big fan of those good intent calls, or that means that the residents or people that are visiting the city see something, they say something, call 911, and we go out and evaluate that. So I really like when the public is informed and they call us to make an informed decision on how to mitigate and then evaluate a situation. Within those 3 months, we also had 4 snake calls. And talking about the structure fires that we had, 2 of those actually were pretty significant, but due to the quick action by your local firefighters, they could have been a lot worse. And one of those was on Prado de las Cabras. And that was a 2-story single-family dwelling, well-involved garage fire, and they kept it to the garage. So tactfully, I'm looking that they did a fabulous job, because it is tough to keep garage fires held to the garage. I don't know if anybody else does this, but people keep a lot of stuff in their garage. And so through proper training and tactics, and as Jeff would know, good fire captains making good informed command decisions on an incident without it extending into the home is a huge success anytime you have a large home. And another one we had was on Old Topanga, and that was at the 3300 block, and that was a dryer fire with some extension into the wall. So it was a relatively older home. And once again, a very challenging fire due to the type of construction, but through your firefighters, they kept it relatively small without significant damage to the homes. And with that, we're actually looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with everything that I've seen, and your fire family is healthy. They're motivated. They're going through training and preparation as we always do. One thing that we are continually doing is working, of course, with Lost Hills Sheriff Station on those all-risk type of emergencies. And so I'm in constant contact with Captain C2 on something that we're picking a topic to get our folks together to talk to, whether it be active shooter, crowd control, multi-casualty, working with helicopters, the urban search and rescue component between our two agencies. So it's such a great working relationship under the leadership of Captain C2 over there. And with that, I'll stop and I'll see if Megan has anything that she would like to add.
Do not have anything to add. I think you covered everything very sufficiently, so I'm all good.
I got a C+ today from her.
Just wanted to see everyone, so that's why.
Yeah, exactly. Any questions for us?
Joe, fire away. No pun intended.
I noticed that there were a couple of fire incidents that happened outdoors, and they're at locations. Deputy DiMatteo mentioned one of them that was at the Albertsons. It sounds like it involved homeless or transient people. You used a term in one case, you said PEH, and I didn't know what that meant.
Persons experiencing homelessness.
There you go.
So anytime we have an outdoor fire, I don't want people to draw the attention to that it could be somebody that is experiencing homelessness. There is a magnitude of different things that can cause an outdoor fire by accidental or even recklessness or being intentional. So just because we have an outdoor fire doesn't necessarily mean that it's somebody that's a transient or homeless. There's some unique things that happen by folks out there that have no bad intention.
Sure. And you hit on my point exactly. That I was going to ask, are we seeing an increase in this type of problem involving outdoor fires set by, individuals who may be homeless? And I was wondering, how do you handle your encounter with those people? I know that the city of Calabasas has a contract with the third-party vendor to come out and investigate and offer services. And I know that Deputy Mateo mentioned that, well, in one of these cases, the individual was arrested. There was an involved identity theft as well. But I'm just wondering, from the fire department's encounter with these people, how do you deal with it?
Well, it just depends. So if we have something and we know that we have a person in question that potentially started a fire, we will then, of course, work with our law enforcement partners and then take the correct action. If we know that somebody has a mental health disorder, we'll make notifications to enable that person to get the desired help that they need. So there's the sheriff's host that can come out and deal with that person. But if it's a medical emergency, sometimes that it may not be somebody who's having a mental health crisis. It might be somebody who may appear that way, but they could be having a true medical emergency. So that's based upon your engine company and your paramedics that go out and they evaluate and go through basically a patient care algorithm, a patient assessment to try to direct what is the overlying condition of this person. So whether it's a complaint, chief complaint, no chief complaint with an illness, sick, not sick. And so we will evaluate that person on a medical field, regardless if it's what somebody calls it in as a 911 call, or if we go there and it happens to be a fire, that person will still be evaluated medically to see what the correct course of action is for that person. Long answer, but that's how we do it. We just don't.
I like long answers because it answers, it speaks to people's concerns. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other questions or comments? I would just add, I would just add, I got my brush clearance letter today, so no doubt your team will be busy out there with all the new growth that comes from all of this rain. So just a reminder to everybody to stay on top of that as we quickly forget about the foot of rain and move on to the hot summer months.
Yeah, well, in preparation. So in closing, I'd just like to add that I was very happy to be involved with Debbie Larson on a equine video. So hopefully that'll get posted. We had a great time with that, and so it went really well. So looking forward to that come out. We were really happy to do it. So
Excellent.
Thank you, Chief.
you
Well,
bet.
thank you both.
Appreciate the support.
Appreciate it. All right. Well, let's move along to our informational items. Mike, it looks like you've got an update on HOA security gates. I know you've been working hard on that.
Yes, yes. So I wanted to bring this item to the commissioners for their input. Don't necessarily need to take up the time tonight, but if you would send me any input you have based on what you've seen. But the genesis of this was the February water main break that closed off Parkway Calabasas. And what we found out is, I mean, obviously Parkway Calabasas is a critical transportation route for over 2,000 homes. And we recognize that Parkway Calabasas in 99% of the cases should not be totally closed. And if it is, what will happen is we're going to have to look at secondary egress access routes out the backside to Mulholland. So this was also identified in the safety element of the general plan. There's several, while we have several communities that have one way in and one way out, these communities have what they call secondary egress routes or gates. Now, the issue with these gates are they're not supposed to be used for primary access and egress day in and day out. They're only supposed to be used in an emergency. So we did a lot of time speaking research. Debbie and I went up to the gates probably on numerous occasions. Also, we've been working with the HOAs, the affected HOAs that have these secondary, once again, these are secondary egress gates. A lot of HOAs have security gates, but we're not talking about that here. We're talking about these secondary egress gates. And I know I've had conversations with Norma, I've had conversations with Brian, and I've had conversations with HOA presidents of the Oaks, Calabasas Park Estates, Westridge, Vista Point. And what we've come up with is a traffic plan. And going forward, the key is working with these HOAs to identify, first of all, the security company would be the first one up to open these gates for an evacuation. It has to be the security company. Can't depend on HOA members to be at home 24/7. They have lives. So we're in the process of working with the security companies at these affected HOAs to open the gates. And that doesn't mean just open the gates under power. It means open the gates possibly when there's no power. But these secondary gates, beginning with the Grandioso gate to the Norman's Way gate to the Cordova gate, the Westridge gate, they're not powered. And they have Knox locks on them and for fire, and sheriff can get in if they need to, and they also have their own locks. So we're working with these communities going forward we're going to have a training exercise in June when we have our EOC exercise, and we're going to time it. And the first line of defense will be the security companies will get pinged by Debbie or I while we're at City Hall that they've got to open up the gates. And we'll see how long it takes and how fast. And then I'll tell you that if the security companies can't open it, the second option is the HOA representative. We've got names of 2 representatives from each of the HOAs affected. So we made a lot of progress, and I think all of the HOAs see the importance of being able to do this because I don't think I don't think that they've been doing this on their own, and I'm excited to partner with them on behalf of the city to get these gates open, but they've got to also cooperate between one another, and that ultimately we're going to have. I'm hopeful that we're going to have a call with all of these affected HOAs together to talk about it. And going forward, we're going to talk about it at the council next week. They're very interested in it, especially after what had happened. I think it just brought a lot of questions to light. And but I think we've made huge progress based on where we were last summer and getting a hold of these HOAs. And we've got a lot of help from the CPHA folks as well to talk to the HOA representatives to get these gates open. And we've shared draft procedures with them, and they're looking them over, and we're going to let them give input. And going forward, these will be their procedures to use for evacuation and for long-term egress and access if the event comes where Parkway Calabasas is closed again. Again, as I say in this document and the other documents, Parkway Calabasas, that should be almost like closing the 101 freeway. It shouldn't happen. It really shouldn't happen. And I didn't think it really needed to happen there, but that was the call of first responders, that made, they decided to close it down. So with that, I'm available to take any questions if anybody would like to comment or provide input.
Debbie, you want to start off?
Would you like me to share the screen of the gate map?
Yeah, if you can do it, Debbie, that'd be great. I forgot to ask you to do it, but yeah, if anybody could take a look and if there's any, we developed this map on the security gates, and also to coincide with the Genesis zones, evacuation zones.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I think everybody has this in their packet, so just wanted to share it going forward. And I know a comment was made about a gate. There's a gate in the Oaks, but it's not a secondary egress gate, much as what we're talking about here that was brought up. And I think Brian knows what gate that is. I don't want to do too much advertising here about gates.
Brian, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I think this is terrific, and I think it's critically important that the city is involved in this because as we know, HOA boards change. Oftentimes, as frequently as once a year, and the new board doesn't necessarily value the accomplishments of the prior board. So without the city there as that kind of hub of information to remind everybody about what exists, it could easily fall apart. So thank you. Good work, Mike and Debbie.
Thank you. And by the way, we have the ultimate gate opener device in my office. Some of you have seen it. So we'll get the gate. I'll be the last line of defense if I have to. I'll come up there. And I think Jeff knows what those look like.
Norma.
I really appreciate this work very, very much. In 2018, with the Woolsey Fire After Action Report, this was one of the things that was very important. So I am so happy to see that we're making headway and so appreciate your partnership. I mean, that makes all the difference. You're not coming down and with a ruler and hitting our knuckles. So I appreciate that. And I just wanted to bring up one other point. Parkway Calabasas could be involved in an earthquake, which would be another example of a closure. The other thing, there are accidents. We haven't had any for a while, but at Park Entrada and Parkway Calabasas, that is one crazy signal. So there is that potential for other reasons as well. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Norma. Joe?
Sorry. This is going to sound like the Appreciation Club, but I can't tell you how happy I am about this.
Yeah.
You've taken the right approach. The first step was talking. Once you get people talking, then they realize, oh, we've all got the same problem here. We need to find a solution. And I agree that partnering with people is a better approach than, beating them up. But I think that the fact that you got the reaction that you did is an indication that we got a bunch of reasonable people sitting in those areas, and they realize it's to their benefit just as much as it is to everybody else. So congratulations to both of you. That was fabulous. I appreciated the fact that you included the gate map, and yes, I've sworn myself to secrecy over it now. Thank you.
It's been, as Norman knows, been a lot of individual discussions. There'll be more to be had, but we can't do it without the HOAs and their cooperation and their partnership. So we're getting there. It's Rome wasn't built in a day, as we know, but we're getting close, and I'm really looking forward to being able to at least try it out and see how fast the gates can get open, and if they can. And you know what? If it doesn't go perfectly, then we'll go back and look and see what we can do better, and we're not going to stop. And this can be an annual exercise, and I think the HOAs can champion this as an exercise for them, not for the city, for the HOAs.
Absolutely.
Great. Debbie, did you have a follow-up, or I see a hand. Sorry, I just wanted to double check.
I have a question. There were some
Yes, sir.
discussions about the HOAs and sharing, the security companies sharing information. Are we working on that? Is there any news? Okay, I know there's something else in the works, so I was just curious if by next
Absolutely.
Monday's meeting, that'll probably. Okay,
Yep.
I don't want to get ahead of
Yep.
myself.
Well, no, we actually had a good, Debbie and I had a Zoom with some of the participants, and we talked about that, about setting up a portal or a chat between the security companies to share, but there'll be more to talk about. And I think we're going to see some major advancements after the meeting. I think it's going to be exciting. So getting everybody in the same room and agreeing that we all have one common foe is going to be, we're all going to be able to rise up and work together. So any other questions on security gates? More to follow with that. I can't wait to report to you in June how it went.
Thank you, Mike. All right, let's run through any updates anyone may have on our subcommittees. So as a reminder, we've got our fire emergency preparedness group, we've got comms outreach and training, there are school safety, and then we've got crime and law enforcement. Any updates? We can just go through the four real quick. If anybody has anything, fire and emergency. So Brian, Jeff, Brian, what you got on your side? Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute, Brian.
There we go.
I have to do that at least once.
Well,
The update on what Epic is up to. We're basically doing a lot, and a number of people on this call are very much involved in those successes. The Epic's emergency preparedness smartphone app is about to be released. Some of you have already seen it, and we're just doing some kind of final tinkering with typos and those sorts of things. But it's phenomenal, in my opinion, anyway. We are also building up the ECHO program, Emergency Communications to Home Occupants. putting together teams of people who will be able to make those communications in an emergency after a natural disaster. We are continuing to do home ignition zone evaluations. And I know I'm leaving some stuff out. Oh, the key part, from my perspective anyway, is we're feeling very good about this private-public partnership that's being built with the city, through Mike and Debbie and City Council, and it makes a huge difference. And that's all I've got.
Back at you, because we can't.
Good job, Brian.
We're two people, and without everybody that's involved here and organizations like Epic, we can't. We're going to be that much better.
Thank you, guys. Jeff, any add-ons from your side?
I do not.
Thank you, sir. We'll move over to Joe and Norma. Any updates on the communications outreach training?
It's Norma's turn to talk.
Well, thank you, Joe. You can tell what we do whenever we have our meetings. It's my turn. Communication and training. We have been tasked with looking at having a CERT program, and it all folds into this emergency response. It's a work in progress. We're looking at the bylaws and making sure that our recommendations for a CERT program reflect FEMA guidelines. And the very first, well, there are two things. First, we want to educate people that they are the help until help arrives. However, safety first. And we are going to be outlining very in much detail how that's going to be done. We've made a start. The second part of this is we're continuing our outreach for the new FRS radio people. Family radio service is going to be really key in really blanketing information throughout the city. And the city has actually supplied the FRS radios. Currently, we have 15 local Calabasas family radio service users that have registered, and they represent 6 Genesis zones. And we're working with Epic and Echo to create training modules and preparing drills for these folks so we can keep them excited, engaged, and contributing. We're looking for contributions from these folks. In the last month, I have actually gone to FEMA seminars. Anybody can do it too. You can go on to FEMA and you can participate in these. Call out and deployment was the first one that I saw. Very interesting. Again, you are the help until help arrives. More detail on the medical part of response. And then a code of conduct for our volunteers. And that FEMA webinar was very important, and will give us foundation. Joe, did you want to add anything?
No, I did not, Norma. I think you covered it all very well. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you both. Jay, Ryan, any updates on the school front?
Yeah, so I'll give the updates. I mean, nothing much has been transpiring with the school district, for example, like the every 15 minutes program, because it is a lot of money that they don't think is necessary to shell out at this point in time. But they have invested into other types of security. Like, for example, just a few weeks ago, they actually implemented a new system of like ID tracking. So what they do is when a student goes into school, they have like their ID card, but they have a certain, like, there's an RFID chip inside, like there's some some sort of technology within the card, and you can use a scanner, and then they automatically check students in, and they're gonna start to push that more and more. So there's more of like a seamless attendance and security system. So in order to like go off campus, you need to check out with a card. In order to come back on campus, you need to check on with this like your ID card, and it's obviously making it a lot more safer. Um, and that's kind of in its like baby stages right now. I think what Norma said about the CERT training, I think last time we had like the teen cert training. Maybe we can continue that program and and kind of advertise it and push it out more to teens as well as with the with Epic as well. And I think we can do a whole thing as they're going into the summer since people will be busy and may want to free up their time with certain things. So I think that's something we can do. And then one other thing is I think I talked about mental health counseling last time as like a sort of well-being. I'm actually conducting a research project on evaluating the effectiveness of the counseling services in like our school district. And the superintendent, they're going to use my research to restructure the counseling services for next year and to improve like student well-being basically. So I've kind of done that. And then one last thing is I've become like Ryan and I are now both members of the Mayor's Youth Council and I'll most likely be on the wellness subcommittee. We were thinking about scheduling joint events with the Public Safety Commission and maybe the Mayor's Youth Council subcommittee division about maybe anything public safety related events and things like that to get the more student population involved. So that's definitely something that we can plan out in the future.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think anytime we can leverage this group to partner with other, other groups within the city, especially the Mayor's Youth Council, that's great. All for it. Just yeah, bring some ideas to the table. We can offline on it too with this group and see if there's something that syncs up. It's there's a large teen population within this city that no doubt we can leverage better to help train and to get the word out on certain things. So sounds great. Sharon, any updates on your side? I know we've obviously been working quite a bit on the symposium coming up. Anything to add from your side?
I mean, the symposium is something that we've been working towards for a long time, and finally it's here. And then to Jeff's point with the with the security teams that run throughout the city, getting them all to sit down and talk to each other was a huge step. Because it just is so much help if there's a place where they can go to drop information, people can be aware, the other guys can be aware. That's such a huge step. And listening to and I said it earlier, everything that's been happening in the city with regards to, even though the crime rate is low, we've all been feeling it because it's been happening in all of our neighborhoods. And so now just the work that's being done, and I know the rates are low, but we feel it. And so this is prime time to really step up there and try to do whatever we can to, if nothing else, deter them, make it difficult for them to come into this city and do something. And that's kind of the gist of what's going to happen. I mean, you look at it, there's all kinds of groups. There's the Lost Hills Sheriff, there's the city, there's the community at large. We all need to do this together. The security teams that run, we need to do it together. And I know I keep saying the word partner, but it is so critical in what we're facing right now. So thank you guys. And I really hope to see some of your faces out in the audience so that it makes it a little easier for the rest of us that are out there doing it.
You will, Sharon, except I'll be wearing a mask. So
Fine.
you'll get to see
problem with
part of
that.
my face at least.
I've been in a mask all day today, so I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I share this opinion with everyone. We feel we're a team. So we're part of your team. So definitely we will be there. It's on my calendar. I'm going to sit in the front row.
No heckling, no heckling. But no, the
Yeah.
only thing I would add, it just within our little subgroup is still having a few conversations to learn a bit more on the volunteers on patrol program from the sheriff. Something it will likely get high level mention on Monday, but it is something that we're continuing to explore to see what the level of support the city might offer for that program, because there definitely is a needed investment, both financial and just variety of commitments from the city, if that's something that we wanted to choose to do. So more to come on that. So let's roll into our last section here. Debbie, did you want to start walking us through some of the updates on your side?
Well, Mike and I were going to, we assigned topics here. So Mike has the first item. This is our public safety and emergency preparedness report that we just put out, what we've been up to. Most of it you are familiar with, but anyways, Mike is going to talk about CERT.
First, a shout out to Norma and Joe for taking a look at the draft that we developed and their input. What I'd like to do is get a meeting scheduled next week, maybe Zoom or in person, to go through it together. And I appreciate the work that you put in. I know there's a lot of moving parts to it, and as well as the recent FEMA code of conduct that we got. So we'll get a meeting together shortly to go through the document, and then the process would be, after that I have to share it with the city manager, and then it would go to the council. So I think first, though, maybe once we get it done, we'll share it with everybody here, and then city manager, and then council, and then we'll be off and running. There's still some bigger pieces to it, like the caches, and the communications piece and the training piece, as you know. So, but thank you, both of you, so much. I know there was a lot to it there, and but we're gonna push this boulder uphill and get it done. You know, and it'll combine our SERP team into the CERT team, and we'll realize the value of the radio folk, the SERP folks in our CERT team. Any well, I'll take questions at the end. Debbie, your turn.
Okay, the next one, Crime Prevention Symposium. Well, I think we discussed this enough, but we are going to be allowing the public to look at it through Zoom, but no questions. It will not be open for questions at the time. You can send in your emails to us, or send it to somebody else and they can ask the questions. So I think it's going to be a great presentation, and I think there's just going to be a lot of good information, new information that's coming up. So that's enough of the Crime Prevention Symposium. The next is our COOP, which is our Continuity of Operations Plan. We've been working on it since the beginning of this year. And basically it's, we're working with our individual departments to see who does what positions will do certain things. We also have lines of succession in there, which is most of it. For, the city manager, deputy city manager, and then also everybody within a department, there's lines of succession. So we're working on that with a consultant, and that's going. So he's keeping us on track. Did you have something, Michael?
Yeah, that we got done with the individual departments. They provided us input, and this is much like a business continuity plan. It's a plan that, if the worst case scenario, the city hall fell down and we had to have a place to go, we have a place to go. We know who's going to call the shots if somebody's not available. So we've been looking for a COOP for a long time. So after the EOP, the COOP, and then the Community Welfare Protection Plan's next. And oh, by the way, we're doing a hazard mitigation plan. Well, that's going on too. There's a lot of plans going on, but it's going to lay the foundation for the future on how we operate.
Okay, thank you. The next on the agenda here is mobile EOC status. We promised it by the end of the year, and we promised it by the end of January. Well, I think it's going to be by the end of February because we are very close. I've seen pictures of what's been installed in there, the radios, there's boards up there, there's TVs, there's chairs, there's all kinds of things. The last thing that we're working on is the Starlink system. It's a satellite communications. So they're working on the installation of that. And after we do that, it should be done. And then we'll bring it here and then we'll show everybody, give them a tour of it. So that really should be done by the end of February.
We should have probably given a picture proof of life for that trailer, but believe me, it's out there. We've actually seen it, and we're in the final stages of it. We just got to figure out a safe place for it. Probably be at the sheriff's station for now. We'll see.
And we're also doing the graphics for the outside of the trailer, which will make it look, very professional.
Automated license plate readers. Jeff talked about it a little bit. We used to have 5. We added 13 of them. We actually added one across the street, Jeff, that's pointing down Valmar. That's on Casa de Oro there. So we have 13. We may need, there's a few more that we've identified we may add. And we're working with Flock on getting the reports. Now, the problem with the reports are they have to go to the sheriff, and the sheriff has to share them with us. Because if you decide, even though it's our data, what we found out from Flock is if we decide we want the data direct, then it precludes the sheriff from sharing information with any other law enforcement agency, that's a deal breaker.
That's actually key. That's what you catch them.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I backed off because I'm spending $45,000 a year. I want something to show for it. Darn it. So anyhow, going forward, we have these cameras. We're getting reports from Flock right now that honestly, until we didn't bring it up to them, their reports are very, very hard to print out and access. You're literally like with one report, you have to deselect every city in LA County to get Calabasas to get a report, which sounds crazy, but so there are some issues, and we've been working with Flock to simplify their software. So then the sheriff can, the sheriff, at first I thought there was an issue there on that side about getting the reports, but there wasn't. It's really the Flock and the software. So going forward, we'll have the reports. The more cameras, the better, as we discussed. And,
it's a great idea. It really is, Mike. I mean, the little incident we had here, and I happened to be on the phone talking about 3 days prior, and he's like, what's that license plate you got? And I ran it with the detective on the phone, and he put it in Flock, and he goes, they were there last night at 2 in the morning again. I'm like, what?
Right.
He goes, go to your cameras and pull up 215, and there's the dudes coming right down the hill. And then they were casing the house.
Did they call Flock?
Well, he seemed to run it right then. I don't know how it works on there, and I haven't seen it. But he ran it literally right then with me on the phone. And he's like, they were there at 146 last night. And I went to our camera system and I pulled it up, and there they were coming down the street, and then they were casing the house. You see them on a different camera. And then they waited and they came up, and one guy went in to see, and they used the remote, and they went right in the house. It was a house right on the corner as you come in the gate. That's the one they got. And they were in and out of there in 10 minutes like they do. And we had pictures of their faces. We gave it to the sheriffs. Haven't heard a thing since.
Now, the one thing with Flock, though, they're not supposed to do facial recognition. They're only supposed to do license.
No, that was ours. I gave them our facial stuff. I also gave them the license plate. But by the way, just like they did with the pistol whipping, the car hadn't been registered since 2020, and it was registered to a business. and they actually had a cover over the license plate. It was really hard to read. Ours actually picked it up. Flock picked it up too, which is great.
Good.
But they do work, and having that coexistence between the HOAs and other HOAs that are looking for cameras, I recommend that because I don't know how far it went. But then when it turned into a break-in, it elevated a level because it wasn't just petty theft and mail theft, which is the postal service and the postal inspector. They don't really care about that. But when it came and they got in the house, then it's a robbery, and it kind of brings it up a different level. So the flocks do work. I think it's a great investment for
do.
the city. Yeah, I think you
They're
get
great. And
more of
we're
those
gonna,
is great.
it's a big investment, but I think it's going to pay dividends. And like you said, I think the combination of flock cameras,
Ju-
other cameras,
just so the board understands how this works, the commission, how it works is it runs through the system. So like Mike is saying, how he did check off all the boxes, and it runs through the whole entire county. The benefit is, for example, they had a murder suspect out in the San Gabriel Valley that murdered someone, and the guy ran through the murder suspect ran his car. They entered it in the flock, and he drove his car through Beverly Hills, and they actually caught him in Beverly Hills because it popped up as a felony stop. And then the Beverly Hills officers got it in their cars. They swarmed the area, and they caught the guy. So that's the benefit of having it. They might do the crime here, but they might drive through another flock somewhere else, and it picks them up, and then another department grabs them that way. That's why you don't want to have it like Mike's saying on our own. It's good to have it as a unified system throughout the entire county. That's the benefit of flock.
right. Well, and going forward, we'll invest in it. We see the value in it. Debbie, go ahead.
Okay. It's Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy Fire Grant. We had applied for some additional funding for to update our emergency preparedness guide and also to start and develop a chipper day program in the city, which I'm really excited about. So I need to work on that. We still have money left for removing dead and dying trees. So we had a pretty good sized budget for that, but we're still, our landscape manager is working with us, and she always has more trees that are dying and, from the Woolsey. And so she's been helping me out with giving me some more trees to put in the grant. And chipper day, I don't know if anybody has ever done a chipper day or knows what a chipper day is. Maybe Jeff, but it's something that we've done in my neighborhood for many, many years, and it involves the community, and it involves the fire department or private tree trimmers. And then everybody kind of gets together and puts their tree trimmings out in the front yard, and it's collected. And so anyways, that program will be developed, and I hope to do that very shortly. So Mike,
Okay.
you're up for
Great.
training.
So our annual EOC training is going to be in June this year. And for Brian, I don't know if I told you before, but this is the notice to Epic for their participation. If they come in, it'd be the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Now it's going to be different than the last year's exercise where everybody was involved. We're going to do modules for each of the sections. So it won't mean a 3-day involvement. It'll be portions of it, like communications, which Epic be a part of. It'll be one of the 3 days. And on the 3rd day, we're going to have everybody come back in for 4 hours and just kind of talk about how it went. But it's going to be a tabletop similar to the open EOC training we did last year, where we're going to focus more. We're going to do a little bit different, focus on the sections a little bit more. And we're not going to do a lot of talking or presenting. We're going to pretty much start off with a tabletop and inputs and give you the scenario and try to pick up where we left off last year. So a little
Excellent.
bit different. And we're waiting for the consultant to come back with us for the framework of it. That's really why we haven't announced much more on it yet, because we don't know what it looks like. But that's the vision as of right now.
Okay.
FEMA.
Okay. I'm still working on last year's January, February, March, winter storms. FEMA process takes a long time. Everything's pending review. We've had one emergency protective measures that were finally funded. So that's good news. They break everything down into little bits and pieces. And so one bit has been approved. That's emergency protective measures. And that was funded for 18,000 and change. So the city is going to receive that money. And then the McCoy Creek slope, which is over in the Tennis and Swim Center, we're trying to get them to reimburse us to help with a slope stabilization project. And I think after this rain a couple days ago, I think it's going to be very obvious that it's, definitely needs to be restored. And that's what I have. Mike, you have the hazard mitigation plan.
Yes, so the hazard mitigation plan has been sent up to Cal OES. It was on our website for a while for any final input. And we did previously have public workshops on it. And so now Cal OES is reviewing it. And if it passes muster, then it goes to FEMA, and then FEMA reviews it. And then the final plan will be put on our website for everybody to see. And this is a multi-jurisdictional plan, so we're sharing this plan with the other 4 cities. It's with through the Las Virgenes Council of Governments. So we're hopeful that now our current plan expires in August. So in this plan, I think will be a big improvement, at least for Calabasas, from what we had before. We have a lot more mitigation actions which tie to grant funding if we wish to. We have to find a grant writer because I think Mikey's not a grant writer. He'll do it, meaning me, but we need a grant writer. And we have a grant in for the community wildfire protection plan. And I know Brian's smiling because he has his in too. So hopefully we'll have something positive to report in the coming months. And that's it.
That's a lot.
It is.
Joe, what you got?
Oops. Sorry. Yes. I wanted to, I guess, reinforce what Debbie said. You need a safe place to put that mobile operations center. It's packed with a lot of equipment now, and we pretty well just laid out exactly what was in it. So anybody who would be interested in stealing such things, they know where it's going to be sitting. And the city's already had some of their shuttles, catalytic converters stolen off them, even tires and wheels stolen off them. So yeah, I like the idea of putting it at the sheriff's station inside the lock gate there. That'd be a good idea. The other thing about the crime symposium, I think it's great that you're also doing a Zoom component that will allow people to at least hear the information. I'm hoping that they're also going to be recording the entire affair. However, our crack communications department seems to be very effective at pulling out certain sections of information and presenting them in smaller chunks, which is always a good idea. If you can go back into the crime symposium and say, oh, okay, here's some things we want to highlight, and we want to put a little video piece together for that to reinforce it, because you got to say it more than once. Like 7 times isn't enough, 10 times probably, and you'll begin to get people to hear the message. So I think that whenever you're putting this much time and effort into things, and again, thanks to Sharon and Matt and Mike and Debbie for pushing that forward, it's very important to the community. And I just think that it's an opportunity to mine greater resources from it if we get everybody on board, and the communications department would certainly be a great choice. So if you can do anything to make those things happen, that would be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Brian?
Yeah, Mike and Debbie, you probably already know this, but DCS has a communications van parked in the Lost Hills station. And one of the advantages, including security, is that those light poles, many of them have outlets in them. So you can park next to that and run an AC line so that the batteries in the mobile EOC can be kept charged. So that's just one of the advantages. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. That's a lot of good stuff. It's a lot of work, especially the paperwork element of so many of those plans involved. It takes a long time. So, looking forward to getting some of those completed this year. That said, let's take a quick review of our future agenda items. We've got a couple on hold. An appreciation luncheon, teen court involvement. I've not heard a thing with teen court in some time. I don't know, Debbie, Mike, if you've heard anything new from them. Nothing new. I'll ask Jay and Ryan too if you guys have heard anything from that program. I know it's still out there. We just we haven't heard a lot of feedback from them.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard much, but we'll definitely see how to restart that program.
Yeah. If you hear anything, please do share. Norma?
Yes, that's James Bazagian's baby. He loves teen court, so he keeps that alive in his mind, but there's been a lot going on.
Sure.
And there's the upcoming election. However, I know that that's near and dear, and seriously, it fills an important role, and I know he's on top of that.
Yeah, I think it's just always on our radar. If there's any involvement our group can contribute to it, I think that's what we're looking, always looking for that opportunity. So if anybody hears of it, we'll add it formally back in for further discussion. The Explorer program we've got on there too. I think there will be a bit of mention about that on Monday, along with volunteers on patrol. So more to come on that. Any other items anybody would like to suggest for future agenda items at this point? Otherwise, we can look at that again a little further down the line to the next meeting. Joe?
I reiterated our suggestions from the previous commission meeting back in October. And I just wanted to say that we're looking for some discussion to get a sense of what the level of support to pursue any of these things would be. It's very much in the same vein as what Mike and Debbie did with the HOAs. We can't ignore the fact that we also have a lot of people in the city as a result of businesses being here. And at least having a sense of how they're going to deal with emergency situations and emergency evacuations could be important information for us to have, because they're all going to be part of the same mix. So that was one of the items that we talked about. I know that Jay also alluded to the fact that they're very much interested in how we can coordinate efforts between our commissions and other groups like the Mayor's Youth Council and quite possibly Traffic and Transportation Commission as well, and the Environmental Commission as well, in that there's usually a tie-in from the standpoint of landscaping that is a little more fire resistant, etc. So all those are just ideas that we threw out, and we're not quite sure whether they're things that the commission would want to pursue. And so we're just looking for some indication or some gauge of that at this point.
I think on the business front, it's something we can, Debbie, Mike, we can talk about that. I think to see maybe the best approach, if there's any formal programs that would be unique to the businesses in the community. I know they're involved in general with the zone mapping and all the other things that we have going, but
Cameras.
yeah, cameras.
Cameras.
And that may be an opportunity once the sheriff has their new camera center up and running to drive a campaign with local businesses for that too.
Yeah.
So that, I think the only other item I had, which was something I believe Jay and Ryan mentioned before, was if there's some time or if we want to bring someone in to speak a bit on fentanyl and impact on communities. So Debbie, maybe we can offline on that one and figure out an approach for some type of training or just a little further discussion on if there's anything this commission can do to have a greater impact on that.
I didn't hear what you were referring to.
On fentanyl's impact with
fentanyl.
with especially with the schools, but obviously it's got wider reach than that.
Yeah, in particular, if you saw what the juvenile team has been up to, it may be a surprise to people that things are happening at the middle school level as well. A couple of incidents involving kids showing up, with cannabis on campus, as well as gummies, etc. And fentanyl is obviously something much more dangerous, and there's no do-over if you guess wrong. So it's definitely a problem that needs to be addressed. The more we shine a spotlight on it, I think that people will become less likely to say, "Oh no, it's not happening here. We don't have any problems." It is. It happens everywhere, unfortunately, and the sad reality is that somebody's kid ends up dead, and that's when it really gets driven home. So we don't want to see that.
Agreed.
Just, if you don't mind, Matt, I just wanted to add one more thought about that. On the sheriff's report, at the bottom of the report, he talks about school issues. So it might be important to have the teen task force, the sheriff's department, what did they call it? The juvenile people come in and talk to us and let us know threats that were made by two students. A lot's going on in the schools that it would be interesting to hear what the juvenile team is doing about those. I'm getting some, I think Jay is agreeing with me.
Yeah, we can, that might be a conversation for DiMatteo to see what can be shared. There's obviously some privacy issues with some of those reportings, but yeah, it doesn't hurt. Maybe it's something we can include a little bit more in the readout from the sheriff's department. All right.
I see Sharon waving.
If nothing else, we can discuss what their role is, so
Yeah.
people begin to understand, because part of what we do as a commission is to educate. So if that can be part of the presentation, that would be awesome.
Agreed. Yeah, I think we can, that should be a pretty easy follow-up with DiMatteo to see if we can leverage their group for a future meeting. All right. I think we've got everybody's commentary. Do we have, if we don't have anything further, we'll ask for a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
First,
All right, Jeff and Sharon, it looks like we have a second. All in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting? Aye.
Yes.
All right. That is unanimous for a long but productive meeting. So thanks to everybody. We will formally adjourn tonight and reconvene April 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. No doubt that will be back in person again, but also looking forward to seeing those that can attend next Monday for our crime symposium. So with that, have a great rest of the evening. Stay dry, stay safe, and see everybody soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.